Welcome to Attic Raiders Retro Reviews, where today I'm going to be taking a look at the Stargrave Automaton box set released by North Star Military Figures in May this year. These automatons have been designed specifically by Bobby Jackson to be used with Death Vector, the latest expansion in the Stargrave series by Joseph McCullough. In Death Vector, the automaton are used a lot. We've got normal automaton, we've got automaton bombs, automaton butcher, automaton hulk, and automaton soldiers, and there's also automites. And most of these can be built using just this kit. The automaton hulk and bombs cannot be built using this kit, but those are available as metal pieces from North Star, although you could kit bash them together using this kit. And of course, this kit is designed not just for use in Stargrave, it could be kit bashed with pretty much anything to be used in any game you want. The box comes with 4 identical sprues, each with 5 bodies on each sprue, so you can make 20 bodies using one of these boxes. But you're also going to have masses and masses of pieces left over for customization and kit bashing. You're also going to be able to make some of the automites which feature in this Death Vector book. And at an RRP of £22, that's working out at just over £1 per figure, which is pretty good pricing. Stargrave automatons are of course killer cyborgs, and we've been after a good multi-part plastic kit of robotic parts for a long time. So it's really great to see that this has finally made it into production. You have of course got lots of different arms which have got weapons, gun arms built into them. There's lots of cutting arms on here, there's drill arms, and there's big clamping claw arms. So there's a lot of fun to be had with this kit. And of course, there are many different heads. Detail on this kit is really nice, and if we compare the bodies with some of the sculpt on the very first crew releases by North Star, we can see that the detail on these bodies is really crisp with nice edges compared to the crew members which came out quite a long time ago now. They don't have quite as many crisp, sharp edges, particularly likes of the folds in the clothing on these. They seem to have really upped the production values and the level of detail and crispness on these, which is really nice to see. You can also see this on the sculpting detail of the heads with these new automatons compared to some of the older ones. There is a lot more detail packed into these and a lot more crisper edges. One thing that is interesting though is that the eyes on these are quite a bit smaller, more in scale I would say, but smaller than these older heads, and so they are going to be harder to paint. What I want to do though is I'm going to clip all of these pieces off and lay them out so we can see exactly what we've got here. With everything cut off of that one sprue and laid out here, you can see exactly what you're getting. So we've got 5 bodies, 3 automites, 18 heads, there's 7 claws, 3 right ones and 4 left ones. We've got a left club or bashing arm. There's a right and a left knife arm, a right and a left drill arm, and 4 left cutting arms. There's 6 robotic hands, but only one of them is a right arm, the rest are all left arms. And only these 3 look like they're posed naturally, that you could use them without a gun. These other 3 here have all been posed so that they are going to be used for holding a gun and would look weird without one. While most of the gripping and cutting arms are left arms, you can see that most of the shooting arms are right arms. There's very little left shooting arms in this kit. We've got 6 of the smaller guns for the right arm and 3 of the smaller guns for the left arm. Then when we come down to the big guns, there's only 1 for the left arm and 6 for the right arm, including this flamethrower here and this plasma gun, which actually comes in 2 parts with the rest of the arm. That is going to have to fit together like this in 2 pieces before that then gets attached to the model. You can see that two of the bodies have got bare feet, one of them's got metal robotic feet, one of them is wearing boots, and this one has got one robotic foot and one bare foot. And the fact that they're barefoot is a little bit odd design-wise. I know that quite a lot of people don't like this barefoot look, but I guess you could actually just snip those off and graft on robotic feet. Design-wise, I'm also not quite sure how I feel about these grafted on steel plates here. You can see whereas these two, it's supposed to be muscles, this one is actually armour. Again, it's a bit of an odd design choice. Detail is much sharper, which is a great thing, but it also means that the mould lines are more pronounced on these mouldings. You can see on this one it's not too bad because of all the detail on here. It's fairly well hidden, but on some of these the mould lines are really quite pronounced and show up a lot. Now these are not going to take an awful lot in order to scrape those off, but it is worth noticing that you are going to have to tackle those. The automites are a nice touch, adding those on instead of 3 extra heads, because you will need these in the book, and it's really nice to have these provided. With only 3 per sprue, you are only going to get 12 of these, so you're either going to have to bunch them up onto more than one on a base, or you're going to have a base with only one on it, and with only one on it that's going to be really small. But the book does describe them as being head sized, so these are accurate given the description in Death Vector. However, if you wanted to make your own, which were bigger rather than having to have more than one on a base, then I have created a video up here where I made my own out of bottle caps. I really like these gripping claws here. These are a really nice design choice, but this one I find rather odd. Now, it's just me, I suppose, but that does not look like how a robot would open its pincers. I would prefer a more symmetrical opening rather than just the bottom pincer opening. So to me, that looks rather weird, but then that is just my preference. The drill arms are really quite nice. I'm not sure about these curved blades. The way that they curve downwards I find a bit of an odd choice, but these cutting rotary tools here are really quite good as well. It's nice to have robot arms, but I would have liked more that could have been used without a weapon, and that way we could have used these kit bashed into far more different things. Now we need lots and lots of different types of guns for these guys to be able to shoot. The normal automatons are just equipped with pistols, whereas the automaton soldiers are equipped with carbines. I'm not sure how I feel about the design of these though. It does look like a gun has just been stuck straight on to the end of an arm. And by that I mean like in 3D. A 3D gun has been added onto half an arm. There doesn't seem to be an awful lot of integration of these weapons into the arms. It's almost as if they've been cut and glued together. So a little bit more integration with wiring perhaps going from the gun into the rest of the arm, I think would have tied it together nicely. I suspect that most of these weapons are just reused digital files from previous Stargrave kits, which would be fair enough, but a lot of these have got magazines on them, which if you're a human you can change out once they empty, but for these automatons, if you're giving them a cutting hand, they're going to have no way of removing a magazine and replacing it when it's spent. So it's a bit of an odd design. I would have got rid of those magazines and had them integrated into the arm as part of the robotic design. But then again, I suppose you could just snip those off and cut them down nicely if you didn't want them. With the 18 heads, we've got a lot of different variety, though I do have to say that they all do appear to be male. Now, I don't know if there's going to be an Automaton 2 kit, which is going to be all females with female bodies and female heads. I'm unsure, but that is the way that North Star tends to go, so maybe they're all male for a reason. Some of these are really quite nice. This face here with this grimace is looking really good. We've got kind of exposed brain on this guy, and we've got more kind of corpse-like details on this one over here. They're all really interesting with lots of sharp detail, but as I said earlier, some of these eyes, like this guy, are going to be really hard to paint, whereas his eyes are much more large, maybe a bit more cartoony, but easier to paint. We've got a lot of kind of 80s styling on these. This seems to have a Star Trek Borg style eyepiece here. This guy's got a big metal jaw, like trap jaw from He-Man. This guy reminds me of one of the Cenobites from the Hellraiser movies. So again, we've got lots of nice design pieces and nice design choices, given lots of variety. This is perhaps my least favourite of them all, but then I'm not a fan of this style gas mask that Stargrave introduced. This is probably one of the nicest helmets or robotic type heads in this kit, and this one, I can see what they were going for, but it just kind of looks really rather goofy with these top set of teeth here but no lower jaw. Hopefully that can maybe be painted up to look really eerie, but it just looks a little bit silly at the moment. And these ones all seem to have odd things happening to their eyes. This one seems to have a Princess Leia in bush disguise from Return of the Jedi style headpiece on top of here that's wired directly into the eye sockets. Again, nice kind of corpse-like nose here, so that's really nice. This one, I don't know how I feel about this one with the eyes wired into the whatever this is. This is an odd choice. I'm not sure I particularly like this design. And again, we've got kind of more Borg type ones. This one's looking quite cartoony, quite a bit more rounded or soft detail on here, and this one with extra eyepieces in here. But again, lots and lots to choose from building your automatons or kit bashing. So I'm now going to take all of these parts and I'm going to start gluing them together and see what we can come up with. As expected, those kit pieces went together extremely easily and fit together very nicely. And you can see, even though I've built my 5 automatons, I have got masses and masses of spare parts left over. When building these, I decided to make 2 normal automaton from the Death Vector book. These ones have got pistols and hand weapons, which can be used for cutting or crushing. I went for 1 automaton soldier. This guy has got a carbine as well as his cutting weapon. And I did choose the slightly goofy looking head on this because I really do want to have a go at seeing how well this can paint up and whether or not we can get it to look like something like Dr. Tongue from the Day of the Dead zombie movie. And lastly, I went for 2 automaton butchers. These guys have got no guns at all. They've just got big cutting, crushing or drilling weapons on both hands, so these guys are for the melee attacks. I really do like the variety of this kit. The figures that you can create can all have very, very distinct looks and outlines to them. As I said, there's a couple of design choices which I would have changed perhaps, but overall this is a really, really nice kit. I would definitely recommend getting this, even if it's just for kit bashing. I hope this review's been useful to you. If it has, please like, comment and subscribe, and we'll be back with more vintage board games and wargaming on Attic Raiders Retro Reviews.